Hi, everybody. I'm Amy,
And I'm Audrea.
and this is the Right Crowd. So pretend this is a cup of coffee. Grab a cup of coffee,
Or a cup of tea.
or maybe something on the rocks, and let's get started. Okay.
So today, Amy, we are talking about November for writers. And normally, or abnormally, but for many years, November has been about National Novel Writing Month or NaNoWriMo. However,
Yes.
this year, some writers are looking for alternatives to NaNoWriMo. Some of them are breaking away from the NaNoWriMo not-for-profit organization and tracker and doing their own thing or looking for other things to do. And I love November, even if I'm not working on a brand new novel. I love it because it's that whole community writers
Yes.
ether thing of everybody's working towards a similar goal and all the writers are banded together across the world working on their own projects, but still in that
Right.
writer's mindset. So, since many writers are looking for alternatives to NaNoWriMo, we're going to talk about some of those today and about what our plans are for this November. I will turn it over to you, Amy.
Yay! I feel like I should do a tap dance. Da, 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 da. Okay, so another thing that's a little different for us for November is normally in November, we're at a writers' conference,
Yes.
and it's our one time every year to see each other. We are not going to the writers' conference this year.
We're not doing it this year.
And I'm starting to feel a little bit of FOMO, which I don't ever feel. Okay. I don't ever like,
I
I'm always
do.
like, that's good for you. I'm so happy for you. There's going to be something that I'm going to get to do that you're not going to get to do. And that's okay. It all evens out on the wash, right? I am starting to feel FOMO about this whole writers conference thing this year. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Sarah Cannon's going to be there this year, even
Well,
though I've told them for the last 3 years they needed to have her as a guest speaker.
they listen to you and then you don't
Apparently,
show up.
apparently they listened this year. Of course, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that was like, why isn't she speaking at these things? So yeah, I heard on her one of her recent videos that she will be there this year. She's got a couple classes she's teaching. I'll be in Florida.
You'll be in Florida, not there. And speaking of there and speaking there, let's say what there is, it used to be 20 books to 50K, that writing
Yes.
conference, and it was held, there are two of them. The one we went to was in Las Vegas every November. And we've been for the past 3 years, I think. This is my year that I am not going, as well as your year. So 20 books to 50K is no more. Now it is Author Nation. It was rebranded and another leader took over the group. And
It's
that's
still
not
the same thing.
still the same. That's not why we're not going. I wasn't going for budgetary and scheduling reasons. So this just happened to be the year I was not going to go. And for you, Amy, it was just happened to be the year you weren't going to go.
Because of budgeting, because I knew that we would have closed on the house by then. And I've had some freedom the last couple of years with spending, not having to pay rent or mortgage. We'll do that for you.
Yeah.
But we closed on our house and I can no longer willy-nilly because I used to take 2 weeks off. I would take a week off for the writers conference and then I would take a week off for poker tournaments at the Win every year. And I did not do that this year.
Yeah.
So
Little
anyway,
FOMO for both of us. Yeah, that's one of my favorite conferences. And even though it's been rebranded, and I love Vegas. Oh my gosh, I love Vegas. So anyway,
all
that's
the
not what we're here
food
to talk about. We're here to
and
talk
nothing ever closes.
November as a writing a writer
Yes.
month. So just in case you are also not doing NaNoWriMo, which it's fine if you're doing NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Many people are continuing to do NaNoWriMo and checking in. And if you go out there, you'll still see my name out there. We're not going to talk about the politics or the reasons and the hither thither and all that other stuff about the organization or the hijinks. But if you are looking for an alternative to NaNoWriMo, we've got some stuff for you.
What
So
are a couple of things that you could offer?
Just a couple? I have an entire list. Okay.
Okay, okay. So while you start, I'm gonna roll this way because I forgot my notebook thing that I'm talking about on this desk. So I'm just gonna roll a little bit more.
We're
Just a
just
little bit more. See,
okay.
see, that was just a little bit.
That was hilarious. That's actually a perfect. If I knew how to put things on the screen, I got to point this way. This is where you are for me. We're over there. But
Okay, I'm back.
I will do that. So I'm not gonna go over the entire list of things that are out there that you could do instead of NaNoWriMo. But if you want to read them, they will be on our newsletter in Substack. So go out
Yeah.
and check that out, and we'll link to that in the show notes. So if you are the type of writer who just wants to do always did your own thing during Nano anyway, and you just want to track your productivity, there are some great sites like For the Words. You and I both did that one. That's the one where you kill beasties with your word count, and it's fun. And there's a community out there of people, and you can dress your avatar, and you have to get points for all your writing. And there's a free mode to it, but if you pay, then you get better outfits and hair for your avatar and power-ups and things like that. So if you like video games and you just want to track your writing and be with a group and gamify it, there is For the Words. There is also the oldie but the goodie. I'm going to say the OG, 750 words. And I believe that's a .com. And I started there. That is where I started every day on my breaks at work, putting in my words, typing them in, little scenes or snippets of dialogue. And the goal is every day to get 750 words. And you can copy and paste or export all your words out. And that's what I wound up doing is that's how I wrote my first book. So that's a great site, and it's very plain and it's very minimalistic, but it's also very handy to have, and you can get your words out of there and they're your own words. There's another one that is even smaller snippets. It's 500 words a day. And I never did do that one, but it's along the similar vein of just going in and plunking your words and your word count for the day and tracking that. So there are a lot of Pacemaker is another really good one where you can set a goal and you can have a community of people who look at your goal and see how well you're doing. So there are a number of trackers that are out there like that. Before I move on from trackers, you can see in the background, I've got 1,000 words up. That is a great chunk of writing to do during the day, and they do hashtag 1,000 words of summer, but there's absolutely no reason why you on your own or with your own writing community couldn't do hashtag 1,000 words of November. So those are some of the apps that are out there. And then there are other writing groups writing communities that are trying to fill the void so we don't lose that as writers, that community, that spirit of creativity that happens every November. So one of them is Slow Rhymo. It's a book a year project, and that leader of that group has renamed her November thing Slow Rhymo. So it's Slow Writer Project or Slow Writing Month. And there are a few others like that. So we'll link to all of those in our newsletter and some of those in our show notes. But one of the really nice writing communities that is doing something this November that we both know and love, and you've heard us mention it many times, is Sarra Cannon is doing her Rough Draft project. So tell us more about the Rough Draft project, Amy.
Okay, so Sarra Cannon is doing a rough draft challenge, and every October she does Preptober, and she always gives you a notebook on how to do it. And Preptober is prepping for what you're going to write in November. Okay, so she goes through in this, so you can get this for free. All you have to do is join her newsletter. So her whole thing is called Heart Breathings. And you can go on there, sign up for her newsletter, and you have access to all of her stuff that she does. You won't have access to HB90 or Publish and Thrive or Your Path Forward because those are paid for classes that she does. Everything else, every other anything that she has made is in that she'll share a drive with you. You just have to join her newsletter. So if you want this, go find her, Heart Breathings, join her newsletter, you'll get access. Okay. So she always has this available, and it's literally everything from, I've already written in mine. So it's everything from all the steps you need to take to to-do list. She gives you a 2-page month breakdown. I forgot to print this front to back. So I print a lot of individuals pages. So, but she gives you like the breakdown of the whole month. She has reward trackers in here. She has meal planners. She has 2 different, maybe 3, I think it's 2 different game boards of how you can track it and gamify it for yourself. She even has one thing that I don't use that she has that I meant to not print, which I usually don't print the things I'm not going to use, but I did it from my phone and I was so excited I could do it from another room that I forgot to go in and not print when I didn't want to print.
Okay.
But she has daily spread of how your day is going to track out for you. It's how she does her HB90 process, and she puts November in this thing for you. So you have it. But she also does this for every day. So she has your beginning word count and what's left to write, what your intention is for the day, scenes to write, word tracker, your mood, because sometimes, I
It's
mean,
always great. It's always happy and joyful.
I'm glad yours is. We'll just go with that. What I'm loving about this story,
Oh, I love it.
your daily wrap up, and then at the bottom, total words for the day and your new monthly total. So it helps you keep track of all your stuff. This is for November for the Rough Draft Challenge. And what she's doing, because she used to be heavily involved with NaNoWriMo, and she has decided to step away because of multiple different things that's going on. And what she is doing is she has set up what she's calling Rough Draft Challenge. And it's not just going to be for November. This is the kickoff, but she set it up so that you can do it anytime. And she set up different tiers because for a lot of people, 50,000 words a month in 1 month, for most people, I'm just going to say for most people, it's a lot. And so there are a lot of people that didn't even participate in NaNoWriMo because they knew that 50,000 words just wasn't going to work for them. Whether they had 1 day to write, whether they have 10 minutes a day to write, whether they have 1 day out of the month to do something, whether they have arthritis and can't write a lot, they have a newborn and never know when they're going to be able to write, right? So saying that you're going to write almost 1,700 words, I almost said $17,000 a day.
I'll take it.
Yeah, please. Saying you're going to write almost 1,700 words a day is a lot, insurmountable for a number of people. So she broke it down into tiers, and she's identified them by gemstones.
Yeah.
And she has she's broken it all down. She even has a create your own. So what do you want it to look like? Maybe 25,000 words isn't for you. Maybe 13,000 is what you can go for. And there's not a 13,000 goal. Create your own, make your own thing. And she's doing it as, instead of writing the whole book, we're writing a rough draft.
Yeah.
Happy draft. Some people, most people, your first draft, no one sees anyway. Right? So she's broken it down so that you can figure out what your goal could be, and you can challenge yourself or you don't have to. Maybe you're the person that needs to estimate how many you can do. Maybe you're the person you need to be able to pat yourself on the back at the end of the month. Maybe that's you. Maybe you know you can do 20,000 words, but you're going to make a 15,000 word goal so you can meet it. And that's okay. Everybody's goal is going to be different according to where they are in life at the moment. So that's why I love it, is she set it up for everybody. And she breaks it down, helps you go through the whole thing. She even gives you space in this planner to write out your story.
Yeah.
Like all the space you need to write out all the things. So check it out. I've already started on this thing, and I will be using I went through using the 1,000 words book and figured out how many words I can write in a half hour. And that's how I determined what my goal is going to be for the month of November. And I'm using her planner as a way to keep track of that, even though a lot of that stuff on that day thing is a little woo-woo for me. And it's okay.
It's
I'm
okay.
going to be a little woo-woo in November. Maybe I'll be a better person at the end of November. I know Audrey's all about the woo-woo.
Oh
I
yeah,
am not. I am not. I am. She's here for the woo-woo.
I'm very woo-woo.
I am not. So I'm looking forward to using this planner this year and actually using it
Mhm.
and setting up all my things. And here's the crazy thing. Because one time I've done NaNoWriMo, I think 7 times.
Mhm.
One time I completed it and I won one time. Okay. Last year I did so bad at it that I still have all of my little rewards set aside because I
Oh
didn't
no.
get any of them. So I literally went through and said, okay, this was not valid anymore. This was not valid. I can have pizza anytime I want. I don't want it right now. So I'm taking that out of my like rewards, whatever. So I literally went through my rewards that I already had used. I'm using them again. And I've taken out 3 of them are big stepping stones in my process that I'll be able to have when I have one of those big stepping stones. But the other ones they're all in little scraps of paper. And when I reach certain levels, I'll be able to pull one of the purple papers out and get whatever's on the purple paper. And when I reach one of my big milestones, I'll pick out a pink paper and that will be my big milestone thing. So
Oh, fun.
that's how I'm doing it. And I fully intend to meet my goal this year. How are you doing it? Do you know yet how you're doing November?
Great question. Thanks for asking. I plan on there's a YouTube, no, what is she, a TikToker who does that? And she cracks me up every time. She does it way better than I can do it. But anyway, I plan on, for those of you playing along at home, we did in September during Labor Day, it was Novel in a Weekend. What is
Oh,
that challenge
yes.
called? So
3-day novel challenge.
3-day novel challenge, which I epic failed. I did not complete
Yes.
mine.
Epic, epic,
Epic
epically,
failed mine.
epically.
Mine was even, I cut mine down to a 3-day novella. And so epic fail on that. But what I'm going to do is I'm picking up that novella that I started that is supposed to be for my newsletter. What do we call that? A cookie. It's a cookie. What do we call it? The newsletter ninja calls it something. Anyway, I,
Butter? No, that's 7-figure author. That's butter. That's butter.
I hope you guys have watched all these episodes, so because these are some inside jokes. Anyway, the newsletter is supposed to be a magnet. That's what it is. It's
That's
a
the word.
magnet. And so I did not get it done during that Labor Day 3-day novel challenge. I'm picking that back up and dusting it off and mapping out what it needs. And I will be writing that during the month of November and finishing that that's my project, is a novella for my series.
Do you have an actual word count project?
The word count for that one is 18,000 words, but I'm going to double check it. Now that I have a whole month instead of 3 days, I can make it a little bit longer.
Yes, you can. If you want to. You don't have to.
Yes, but that's the word count for that one is an 18,000. It's a novella.
Okay. So I based my word count on the time that I say that I have in November based on time off and days I can write and all of that stuff. Um, and I am working on, so if I don't know if you guys remember, but about this time last year, we did a Christmas cozy book
Oh
on how
yeah.
to write a Christmas cozy. And I told myself I needed to get all the words on the page that were in my head for this book that I now wanted to write, even though I normally don't kill people in a cozy way. It doesn't happen. I was going to put this book, I was going to get all the words on the page, put it aside. And when I was done with my current project, then I would get back to it. Well, I realized that my current project is going to be more of an epic, which is a lot of words.
Yes.
And I need a success. I need something sooner than finishing an epic. And who really wants their first publication to be an epic? Because, I mean, if it fails, haha, epic failure.
Technically.
So I don't want an epic failure to be my first publication. I need something smaller,
Yes.
more bite size. So I have decided that for November, I am picking that book back up. And my goal for November is to get 53,000 words. That is based on how many words I know I can do in half an hour and how many half-hour blocks I have to write, which is one of the ways that Sarah Cannon does her blocking. She does half-hour blocks. And I have always done half-hour blocks for everything. Before she brought it up, I saw it in one of her things. So that at least that's one thing I have that I do that's not her. I mean, it's her, but I had it before her. So
Hey, nobody. All right.
I feel like a lot of times it's like, oh, Sarah Cannon does this, so I'm going to do it this way. No, I had it first.
Okay.
Probably not. And based on how many blocks I have available, my goal for November is 50,000 words, 53,000 words. Now, whether that will be just this cozy, whether that will end up being this cozy plus something else, I am not planning on doing any editing in November because editing for me is it's a time suck. And I never get words on the paper when I edit.
Yeah.
And I want words on the paper for November. How much of that is going to go into November, like where I'm going to be in the book when I get to November, I don't know. Because how I'm getting there is I've started now, where I'm getting into the habit of writing every day using the 1,000 words book concept. My goal is every day get 1,000 words. And then when I go to November, it shouldn't be that hard to ramp up because I'll already be in the habit of writing.
The 1,000.
So we'll see where we are in our current whip. I have plenty in progress. So it's not like I don't know what I'll be writing afterwards. I just have to pick one up and move along. Or I already have 5 titles for this series that I'm writing, this cozy series. I already have 5 titles. So I can always just go to the next book.
Yeah.
Like I know what I want. The title is based on the crime. So I know what the crime's going to be in the next one. I can just move on to the next one. So how are you planning on getting to where your goal is?
Cool. That is very cool. So Amy mentioned a few things there. She mentioned time blocking, which is something people do to block out time on their calendar that they know they can work. I've done that on my calendar. I have a giant block of time that is my day-to-day job, and it happens in the middle of the day. And I also block out time for my workout and time for meditation or yoga or whatever that is. I've started putting that back in my schedule because if it's not scheduled, it shall never happen. I have learned that lesson. It's like, I'll do it, but if it's not written down, it's not going to happen. So I'm putting that back on my schedule. So for the month of November, my Preptober will include rereading everything I wrote for the 3-day novel weekend, rereading that whole story, and mapping out any gaps or any additional things that I need to include in the story, and then mapping out my time. And as Amy mentioned, for November, whether you're doing NaNoWriMo or For the Words, or you're on a Discord server with some writers in Phoenix or wherever you're writing across the globe, the Netherlands or Scotland, wherever, it's a good idea to take your time, look at your entire month of November, and block out when you know you cannot write and be realistic. So you don't feel frustrated or stressed out because, of course, in the US, we have Thanksgiving and I'm flying to Arizona in November and I have to block out family time. Not have to. Let me rephrase that. I get to block out time to spend with my family. I know how lucky I am to get to spend that time with my family. Yes. So block your time out so that you can be realistic. And that's what my plan is to do that. That's part of my Preptober is blocking out November for holidays, family time, travel, foodie excursions with the hubbo, etc., and then travel And then I also do have a job, so I have to block that time out. So being realistic with what I can write. And that's why I chose a smaller project, and I chose a project that I was not starting from scratch because of additional constraints in the month of November. And I feel good about it. It's something that I need to write, I want to write, and it will help me move my author business forward to have this magnet in the can, so to speak. So I am pretty excited about that. And if for those of you who are not familiar with time blocking, Sarah Cannon does do a video on her channel about that, or you can just Google or go to YouTube and one of the other big search engines on the interwebs and look up time blocking. Many other people talk about how to block out your
Yep.
time and how to make an entire Google or whatever calendar you're using that has your time blocks on it, which is handy.
You can
And
also reverse engineer
yes.
how you write. So say you have, instead of saying doing it that way, you could say, I want to write 50,000 words and I'm only going to have 10 days, which means I have to do 5,000 words a day.
Oofda. Yes.
You
Which
could, if that's what works for you. There's a lot of things. Like I do that on the daily. We have to go somewhere at 6. We have to be somewhere at 6, which means we have to leave at this time, which means I have to start getting ready at this time, which means, we do that, right?
stressing me out. Yes. We do that. Yes, that is a thing we do.
Yeah. So maybe that's how it works for you. Like start with the end in mind. Whereas for me, I started at the beginning thinking, this is when I can write. This is how many words I can write in 30 minutes, which equals how many words I'll be able to do for the month. I almost didn't write the number down because I was like 53,000 words. But then I was like, but this is what I'm telling myself I have time for.
Okay.
So I'm making myself do it. But you can see her goal is 18,000. My goal is 53,000. Perfect example that it doesn't have, like, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what works for you.
Exactly so.
And there's no judgment.
Yeah, no, no, whatever you want, whatever works for you. There are people who do poetry. There is a National Poetry Month, like NaNoWriMo. I forget what it's called, but that one happens in April. But there's still people who do a book of poetry in the month of November. So whatever you're writing on, if it's nonfiction, if it's blog posts, if it's a manual for how to tune a car engine, whatever you want to write in
Whatever.
November, you block out time for it, be realistic, and give yourself grace to do it and set yourself up for success. I think that I often don't do that for myself. I say, I have to write 50,000 words and I am going to be gone for to 20 books for the, or 20 books to 50K for a whole week. And then I have to work. And I don't get that 50,000 words done and I beat myself up about it. So not this month.
No.
This November, I'm being practical and I am prudent and I have figured out how many words I need for this novella and how much time I have to write in. So those are some things you want to use whatever time you have left in the month of October to do that. And even do if you did it in the first few weeks of November, that's fine, whatever works for you. I
Yeah.
do like the way I like writing in community, and I like the way Sarah has set up hers with, these chunks of goals that you can aspire to either make your own, or if you're doing a 20,000 or you're doing a 30,000, etc. But look in your own right. If you have a writing community or in your area, there are many shut up and write communities. That's another one that'll be on the list. They are doing things in November. Look around you at other writing groups and just go out and do a sprint or do sprints at home on YouTube. There will be many sprint sessions that start, and we actually are going to be doing a sprint session that you can play or look at our channel for. There will be a write with me or write with us, write with Audrea and Amy. And I'm sure we'll be just as goofy and awkward during that sprint session, but it will be timed blocks to write. So there are some other opportunities out there. And if you want to if you're still doing NaNoWriMo, of course, the website is up and you can go put your project in there and do that as well.
I have heard that some of the local NaNoWriMo writing groups, the
Mhm.
groups that have been established, that some of them aren't participating with NaNo. However, they're still meeting to write.
which is cool.
Yeah. So if you're part of one of those discords, make sure that you keep up with it and check to see what they're doing. And closer to the beginning of November, there will be a rough draft challenge website.
Mhm.
It isn't up yet. Her husband is putting it together. So when it's up, follow her newsletter. You'll get notice, I'm sure, of when it goes up. Don't forget to go follow our newsletter on Substack.
Please do.
Subscribe to our channel. And on November 1st, we will, it might be the 31st, but end of the month, beginning of the month, we will have posted a Write with Us. So at any time, maybe you want to write, but you don't want to write by yourself. We won't be there live, but you can always click on it and have us in the background writing with you. And I'm sure there will be live people on YouTube
Many.
that are writing. So you don't have to write with us. You can literally look at all the people that are live and pick one. It doesn't have to be with us. We're just going to have that as a resource for you on our channel. Is there
And
anything else you wanted to?
Yes, speaking of Write with Us in sprints, there are many of them out there, and I have a few that are my favorites as well. I will just rewatch them sometimes just because they have the timer going and it's that pace of writing, and they stop at 15 minutes, or some of them are 20 minutes or 50 minutes, and they're a great resource if you want to get into the groove of the writing. So anything else for the NaNoWriMo or for Novel Writing Month? No, we'll put some links in our newsletter and in the show notes, and more to come on that. So that's all I've got.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.